My name is Andrej Godina. I'm Italian. I'm a coffee expert, and I had the opportunity to do a PhD in science, technology, and economy in the coffee industry at the University of Trieste. My profession is to be a professional coffee taster, and today I'm going to tell you something about sensory analysis. What is sensory analysis? It's a scientific discipline that allows us to describe from a sensory point of view. It means using our sense organs, everything that we eat and drink every day in our life. Which are the sense organs involved in sensory analysis? First of all, our eyes. So with our eyes, we can describe colors, shape, and all the visual characteristics of an object, and in our case of coffee, our cup that we are going to drink. Secondarily, our nose. So with everything that we can perceive here in this area, we can describe all the odors and aromas that we can perceive that comes out from a food or beverage that we are consuming. After smell, tastes. In our mouth, we have the tongue that is able to perceive the 5 tastes that are present in food and beverages: saltiness, sweetness, bitterness, umami, and acidity. It's important to describe not only the intensity of the tastes, but also the balance of it. In our mouth, we can describe also the tactile sensations that we can perceive just feeling, also with the fingers. So everything that is related to mouthfeel. So for example, a food or a beverage could be smooth, could be silky, or could be astringent. In sensory analysis, overall, I would say sensation that can combine aromas, tastes, and mouthfeel characteristics is called aftertaste. So in sensory analysis, we take into account also the combination of all these characteristics that we call aftertaste, that has to be complex and long in time. How to do sensory analysis applied on a cup of coffee? It's important to think that coffee is a beverage very complex from a chemical point of view. You can imagine that during roasting, the roasting process develops thousands of new chemical compounds that are contained in the coffee roasted bean. When we grind the coffee and we extract the beverage, most of these chemical compounds are going to be contained in the beverage. Our sense organs are able to detect most of these chemical compounds, especially from an aromatic point of view. In the sensory analysis applied to espresso beverage, it's important, first of all, to describe the crema. I mean, we use our eyes to describe color, to describe the texture of the crema, I mean, the foam that is on the beverage, the consistency, and the persistency on the beverage. All these characteristics are then written on a tasting card to be able to record all the characteristics positively or negatively of the cup. Secondarily, we are going to, after describing the color and all the characteristics of the crema, to describe the aroma. Aroma is everything that we can perceive with our nose, and it's important to be very concentrated, to spend a little bit of time just sniffing with our nose everything that is coming out from the cup, and to write down all the aromas that we can detect. The aromas of a cup of coffee can be positive or negative. It's important for a professional coffee taster to be able to detect, first of all, the defects, and then everything that is positive into the cup. What about tastes? Coffee is something very complex, and usually it's a balance from a taste point of view between acidity, sweetness, and bitterness. Acidity belongs mostly to the Arabica species, as well as the sweetness. Usually bitterness is more present in the Canephora or Robusta coffees. The balance of these three tastes makes a coffee be a specialty one or not. A specialty coffee has to be slightly acidic, very high in sweetness, and low bitterness. Then we can describe the body of the beverage. Body is everything that we can perceive with our tactile sense organ in our mouth that allows us to describe the intensity, the viscosity of the liquid, and also the quality of the mouthfeel perception. A positive mouthfeel perception of an espresso is described using words like creamy, oily, buttery, silky, but could be also negative, I mean defected, and in this case would be described as astringent or dry. The intensity of the body is very important, and it is an integral description of a typical Italian espresso beverage and should be always very intense. At the end, the aftertaste. That it's a combination of taste, mouthfeel, and aroma sensations that it's present in our mouth after drinking and swallow the coffee beverage. Aftertaste has to be complex, persistent in time, and very intense. Usually a specialty coffee and a high qualitative espresso beverage has to leave in our mouth a combination of a slightly acidic perception that could be integrated with citrus aroma, mouthfeel positive characteristics, it's silky, smoothie, or creamy, and with a very long persistency in time. Sensory analysis applied to quality control in a roastery is used on the espresso coffee brewing method, but also in cupping. Cupping is a protocol worldwide used, especially to control the quality of the green coffee beans. Everything that I described in the espresso sensory analysis is also valid for the cupping sensory analysis, except for the visual description of the beverage. Cupping is more an infusion. The coffee is roasted very light, ground very coarse, and the ground is not separated from the liquid and usually is in the bottom of the cup. In this case, there is no foam, and the coffee is described directly starting with the aromatic point of view. What about roasting for cupping and espresso? There are many differences, substances differences between roasting color for espresso that should be darker compared to the roasting color for cupping. What does it mean, roasting color? Roasting color is the degree of roasting process that allows to the bean to be developed more or less from a chemical point of view at the end of the process. Espresso brewing method required a dark brown roasting color, that it means a higher roasting temperature, usually with a longer roasting time. This kind of roasting profiles allows to the bean to be more complex from a chemical point of view and especially from an aromatic point of view. Espresso brewing method requires a dose of coffee of 7 grams. This is the Italian typical recipe to prepare the espresso. A grinding size fine, a tamping process that allows the coffee cake to be compacted in the filter of the cold filter of the espresso coffee machine, a brewing time between 20 and 30 seconds. Usually I use in my laboratory 25 seconds, and a brew volume of about 20, 22, maximum 25 grams into the cup. The cupping protocol requires different parameters to be able to extract everything that is good in the green coffee beans. So particularly I already mentioned the lighter roasting color, the shorter roasting time, and it's important to ground coffee coarsely, about 850 microns. The infusion time is longer, I mean ground and water will be in contact for several minutes, and when the beverage is reach about 65-70 Celsius degrees, the coffee taster can, with the spoon, taste the beverage and describe all the sensory profile that he is able to describe. Roasting process for espresso could be done with different and many roasting profiles. It's important to underline that for espresso, it's important to be around 10-15 minutes of roasting time. If we are below 10, we have the risk to do a fast roasting profile that allows the beverage to be less complex in aroma, with a less body, and also with a very acidic taste that could be not balanced with sweetness and bitterness. If we are going up to 20 minutes in the roasting machine, the risk is to bake the coffee, reaching a slow roasting profile. In this case, as the fast one, the coffee into the cup will be more flat, not complex. We will perceive only bakery aromas. We will lose for sure all the fruity and floral notes. The taste would be bitter, and also the body could be slightly astringent. Remember always that the roasting color is important. A too light roasting color is going to bring into the cup a not balanced acidity in a very intense way, probably pungent and not pleasant. Light roasting colors also will give to the cup a low body and an aroma that will be not developed as well as the roasting color will be darker. Usually a light roasting color is going to give it to the cup only a citric acidity. In opposite, if you are going to over roast the coffee, giving to the roasted beans a too dark roasting color, you are going to emphasize into the cup a very intensity of the bitterness, a high body, but could be slightly dry and astringent. So remember, always, especially if you are a roaster, find out with several trials the best roasting color that you can achieve with your roaster to have at the end the best cup profile. So I hope to see you soon, and I hope to have the opportunity to taste professionally a cup of coffee with you, and I wish you di avere sempre un buon caffè.